That's going up to 96 members, so quite a big increase. The way we vote is changing. We've always had 2 votes in Senedd elections, one for your constituency member and one for a regional, or for 4 regional members. That's going. Now everyone will just have 1 vote. You'll vote for your preferred party or independent candidate, and you'll be represented by 6 members in your constituency, and those constituencies are going down from the current 40 down to just 16, and 16 pretty large constituencies being represented by 6 members of the Senedd each. And that's what we've done in the Democracy and Boundary Commission. We've held a review and we've created these 16 constituencies that'll take us through this next election.
So this is what is going to happen. It's not going to change between now and then?
No, for this next election, these 16 constituencies that we published a couple of months ago, they will definitely be the ones in use. We will, though, be doing another review starting just after the election for the election following. So for this first one, in order to get these done in time for the election, we had pretty tight, pretty specific rules on how we could come up with the constituencies. So what we had to do was take the 32 Westminster parliamentary constituencies that we have in Wales and pair them together. So 2 neighbouring constituencies would join together and send 6 members to the Senedd. After the election, we'll have more time to do a more thorough review where the pairing of constituencies will go, and hopefully we can create some constituencies for the longer term that deal with some of the issues that we found in doing this particular review. You know, pairing them together, it has worked on the whole. It's given us those 16, but there are areas around Wales where we might want things to make a little bit more sense in terms of local community ties and so on.
Yeah,
so we'll be able to do that.
Where we are here in Pembrokeshire, and of course where you are actually, there was the conversation as to, well, why does it make sense putting Pembrokeshire with Ceredigion when we've got arguably larger links with that Carmarthenshire area, and of course our current Senedd member, we've got 2. We've got one for the north and one for the south that goes into West Carmarthenshire. But then in the UK elections in Westminster, we've now got Ben from Ceredigion having North Pembrokeshire as well. So it's quite a jigsaw piece to put together.
It is. And the process this time for coming up with these Senedd constituencies, because they all have to pair together and all those pairs have to be neighbouring, essentially. We started up in Ynys Môn, where that island constituency only has a road link into the Bangor Aberconwy constituency. So those 2 have to be together. And then when you keep kind of going next door, you find that there's no option, basically. For all of North Wales, it has to be combined a certain way. When you come south, there are more options. But what we always have to consider is the knock-on effects of certain things. So, yeah, I think there's probably a few people who would have thought Pembrokeshire and Carmarthenshire would make more sense. The issue when you combine Pembrokeshire and Carmarthenshire, what do you do with Llanelli? What do you then do with Gower and Swansea? And the same issues going north as well. What we've managed to do is keep Carmarthenshire as one by combining the Carmarthen and Llanelli constituencies, and Ceredigion and Pembrokeshire, both counties, aren't split in 2. So we thought that was a pretty good way of going about it this time. But again, we'll look at these again over the next few years, and where people think there could be improvements. That's what we'll always want to know. If there's ways to improve it for areas locally, people living in these communities will know better than us. So when people let us know, we can make those changes.
Yeah, and it's quite a fundamental change to voting entirely. The history of voting in this country is that you voted for that person to represent you. It's always been the name on the ballot. Yeah, I'm going to vote for Dave. I'm going to vote for Steve, for Megan, whoever it might be. Whereas that's completely changing now. You're going to vote for the party.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a big change. It'll take some getting used to, probably. And I think there's a big job of work for people who are involved in this process on the kind of public body side, like we are, and the Electoral Commission, the Senedd itself, to raise that awareness going into the election.
Do you think it will stop people voting, though?
I'd hope not. And I think there's a lot of focus on at the moment in making sure that people are aware of the changes and that they understand how the entire voting process will work at this election. And I hope that it wouldn't put people off. I think what's important for us to do is make sure that there's no sense of confusion that might put people off. As long as people are very clear on what they're being asked to do on election day, and the vote will translate into seats. I'd hope it wouldn't put people off. Obviously, it's up for people to decide, and the merits of that policy, it's up for the public to decide as well. Our role really is just to create those boundaries based on the rules, and going forward, try and raise awareness of how it all works. But there will be people going into the election, political parties with views on either side of that debate themselves, and people might choose who they vote for, partly based on what those parties, what those candidates say about the future of Welsh democracy as well.
And we know that some parties have already announced who they're putting forward for these upcoming elections in 12 months' time, which is very exciting. But we're not going to be voting for those individuals. We're going to be voting for the party. Each region's going to have 6 people representing them. As a voter, we don't know where they're going to be based, as kind of the way now, actually. There's no guarantee they're going to be in your area. But if we're voting for just one vote for one party, how's that 6 going to be counted, and how are we going to end up with our representatives?
So it's a proportional system. So roughly speaking, the number of votes will match the number of seats in each constituency. And I think at 7:15, I won't try and dive into the maths. I've not had enough coffees to explain it, and I'm sure no one wants to hear me bang on about the maths. But basically, it's something called the D'Hondt method that gets used to elect these candidates. People can go and Google it later on in the day if they want to, but they use a formula basically that makes sure that, roughly speaking, the number of votes matches the number of seats. Parties will list their candidates in order. And the party that gets the most votes, their number one candidate will be elected, and then you kind of keep going down that list until you fill the 6.
Okay, so there's no guarantee then, even after the polls have closed and those first announcements start coming through this time. Well, they'll finish this time next year, as to who are actually going to have representing us until all the dust has settled.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I've seen some interesting stuff from the Wales Governance Centre in Cardiff, who've said that, on current polls, those 6 seats in a lot of constituencies look like they might be incredibly tight. So the counting process could be quite interesting. I think there'll be a lot of nail biting for a lot of parties and a lot of voters as well when they wait to see, especially who that 6th member is in their constituencies.
Yeah. It's some people find politics the most exciting thing on the planet, and some people are thinking, well, why does this bother me? Why should I care? Politics actually impacts each and every one of us, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got to admit, I'm one of those who finds it very exciting. But it does, and the Senedd, and the Welsh Government, they're responsible for things that really do impact our lives. The NHS, education, the way our councils are funded. There's a lot of stuff that will impact us being decided at this election next May. I'd encourage everyone to engage with the process, find out who you most agree with, who you think will do the best job of running Wales, and get involved in it. But that's also, on us as a commission to try and raise that awareness and hopefully raise some excitement about the election as well.
Yeah. Gina?
I like to get all this information, and I know that Tom is very much into politics. He understands it a lot more than I do. But yeah, it's an exciting time. It's going to be a big change for all voters across Wales.
It is. It looks like it'll be an exciting election. In my job, I can't comment too much on the political side of it, but no, you can see it in the news already that there's quite a bit of excitement about this election, and I think these changes are a part of that. The fact that there's more members going to be elected it's interesting to see how the number of votes might translate into more seats for different parties. I think one thing that this new system makes very likely is that political parties will have to work together after the election. In these proportional systems, it's unlikely that any party gets a majority on their own.
Mhm.
So there'll have to be some cooperation, and I think that adds an extra level of interest as well.
Yeah. It's going to be an exciting time, and we're talking to you now here on the Breakfast Show with Folly Farm, but we have a dedicated Pure Politics show which happens roughly once a quarter, so we're going to be keeping you as up to date as we can as these months tick down. It'll be here before we know it. I've had the pleasure of interviewing the First Minister a number of times, Senedd members for the local area from opposing parties, and everyone is already looking at their strategies and their communications over the next 12 months. And well, we've got a bit of a duty to share that and to make you as informed as can be when you come to cast that single vote for the party that you think will have your best interests at heart this time next year and beyond. Rhydian, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
I'm going to put you on the spot because I don't think I put this in any emails with you. Is there a song that you would like to hear this morning?
Oh my goodness. Wow, that really is putting me on the spot. You know what? I'm really, really into rock and metal, but do you know what? Can we have some AC/DC this morning?
Oh,
Oh,
of course we
yeah.
can. Yes, we can. What would you like from AC/DC?
I'll put anything on.
Anything by
Yeah.
AC/DC. We can do that. The Pure West Rock Show with Jim was on last night. It was a country rock special, and it was brilliant. If you missed it, go back and have a listen. Let's have a look to something that's not going to cause too much issues with the topic that we've been talking about, shall we? I tell you what, we know that Ronnie's going to be out and about. Should we have a bit of Thunderstruck?
Yes,
Brilliant.
Ronnie Traffic absolutely loves AC/DC. So yeah, she's going to enjoy that too.
There you go. Rhydian, thank you so much for your time this morning and doing what you're doing. And we look forward to receiving more information in probably exactly 12 months' time. You've elected your Senedd officials. Here's our next review.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so
both
much.
very much.
Thank you.
Rhydian from the Democracy and Boundary Commission joining us here on The Breakfast Show. Coming up next, we've got your What's Ons. We have got your traffic update with link taxis and a little bit of AC/DC. Thunderstruck. It's just gone 20 minutes past 7 o'clock.
Get your annual pass today for unlimited